Hi, my name is Dave. Today I'm going to show you a Carton 60 EA classic telescope. It's not really very old, probably 80s, maybe 90s, something like that is what my guess is. It's a charming telescope, and I'll show you a couple of the really captivating things about this telescope, in addition to the fact that it's pretty darn rare. You don't see many of these around. Let me show you the basic operation of this scope. Of course, here is your right ascension lock in slow motion. Lock it down and now you have slow motion. And of course you can reverse it to the other side. Pull this off and put it on over here. You're on that side. Here you have the lock for the declination, and then the declination slow motion is right here. It's canted at an interesting angle. See if I can rotate this and show it to you. See, look at that angle. It's kind of unusual. Probably a little bit more convenient there than kind of straight next to the tube. Also, please notice this interesting little dovetail. I wonder what that's about. That's one of the reasons I bought this scope, was that charming little bit of stuff. Okay, so let's see. Let me show you how this... Unfortunately, the optics are not perfect. They have a little bit of coating degradation. They do work quite well, though, despite that. Let's balance this thing a little bit better, shall we? Maybe there. Maybe this has got a nice, easy operation mechanism here. Focuser knobs are nice and big. Very easy to focus with something like that. Little tiny knobs make it challenging. Typical finder, 6x30, I think. This is not the original finder that came with this scope, but it is an original Carton. The original was broken and I had to replace it. There it is. Cute little devil. Let me show you some close-ups. Here you have setting circles, fairly primitive and very basic. Of course, not too many people really use these things, but it does have them. Same here. There's your setting circle up there for declination. The scope, the mount is very nice, operates very nicely. And in fact, the whole scope is pretty darn nice. It's a cut above the average, typical, inexpensive refractor from the era. Features a tray. There's a tray to keep your eyepieces, whatever. And the legs are unusual. Let me show you those. These legs are, instead of the usual system where you have some sort of clamping devices around here, these legs are just simply slotted. It's a fairly simple, straightforward, and not that bad an idea to do it that way. Although you do have to have a fairly thick piece of wood. There is some danger of breaking it. But if you have a nice thick piece of wood, it's not a bad way to do it. You still have just as much adjustment. One of the most interesting things about this scope, and honestly one of the main reasons I bought it, was because of this little interesting dovetail system here. You got a nice little dovetail, very nice, nicely made, very similar to other scopes, Goto, etc. And this is pretty early. I mean, this is before that became commonplace. Nice little system, very, very nice. Now, the thing that I really like about it is this. That same dovetail is used to hold this, which is going to be your solar projection screen. How is that for clever? Here are the screens. Put them right on here. Here's the other. Now you're all set up for solar observing. And actually, you've done yourself a favor because you've removed the finder. The finder is sometimes somewhat dangerous if you forget to cover that and you get your head behind this. I've never lit my own hair on fire or anything, but it is theoretically possible. And the most dangerous thing is that you or some little kid would look through the finder while the thing is aimed at the sun. Not a good thing. Not a good thing to happen. So anyway, that's kind of cool. And we're not done yet. I've got more in this line. Stay tuned. In addition to the nifty dovetail for the finder, there's actually an identical dovetail up here. You could put the finder up there if you want to. That's not what it's about. Although I suppose that's an option. This is what goes up there. This, to me, is captivating. Look at this. My goodness. Now you've got a little tiny sort of a camera tripod head on here. And of course, that's so that you can mount your SLR, not DSLR, your SLR camera, the old film camera up here. Let me show you what that looks like. Here's my old Nikon. Haven't used this thing for years. Wonderful old camera. Oh goodness, that was a good camera. Did a lot of nice work with that. I mean, for film stuff. This is in the olden days of film. All right, well, let's look at this scope. Now, all of a sudden, you've got a scope where you can do piggyback astrophotography. You open the shutter on the camera, and you can track. You can even aim this thing at different parts of the sky. So suppose, I don't know, suppose you want to track something that's over there. Well, maybe we want to adjust the counterweight a little bit because it's kind of heavy. Let's see if we can go that far. It's just about good enough. Okay, so we've got something over here. I'm looking through a guiding eyepiece here at a star, and it wouldn't have to be a real fancy guiding eyepiece because you're not going to shoot anything real long focal length here. This is going to be wide angle stuff. Your tracking is not going to be critical. The tough part about that would of course be now you've got to operate this thing. You're going to open the shutter here for 15-20 minutes. You know, old film days were those were the bad old days. So you'd have a real long exposure to get a very not so great astrophotograph. Anyhow, you got to track this thing, and you're guiding, at least nominally guiding. It wouldn't have to be that good because you're not going to see any tiny errors in this film at a 50mm focal length or something like that. Anyhow, that's the idea. I just love this thing. I think this is wonderful. And it's when I saw this, I said, I've got to have that telescope. It's just captivating. I hope you've enjoyed having a look at the Carton 60EA telescope. Thank you for watching.